You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
So, looks like we lost another celebrity to colorectal cancer. We had learned that Catherine O'Hara, who died, I believe, at the age of 71, had rectal cancer and died from a pulmonary embolism. And then now we're told that James Van Der Beek, who's only 48 years old, has left us. And he struggled with colorectal cancer. I'm telling you right now, colorectal cancer cases are soaring. We are hearing that they are by the thousands jumping every year. We expect at least 53,000 Americans to die of colorectal cancer this year, maybe more. And I know it's frightening, very, very frightening. Now, celebrity deaths, draw a lot of attention. And I see colorectal cancer all too much. In fact, in my family, it's on both sides of the family. This is why I've had at least 5 colonoscopies so far, because both sides of the family have colorectal cancer. It is so genetic in my, neck of the woods that, I get screened before the USPSTF recommends it at age 45. It's sooner. They used to recommend at age 50. And my doctor's like, no, not with your family history. You're getting checked in your 30s. And so I think I was even in my late 20s when I had my first one. And so, I'm not sure how long James David Van Der Beek fought, but according to his wife, Kimberly, she said he met his final days with courage, faith, and grace. There was much to share regarding his wishes, love for humanity, and the sacredness of time. Those days will come. For now, we ask for peaceful privacy as we grieve our loving husband, father, son, brother, and friend. There is a GoFundMe for the family, and the actor, we're being told, was diagnosed with stage 3 colorectal cancer. That means beyond the local tissue, but not necessarily metastasizing to lungs and brain, but involving lymph nodes. And that was in August 2023. A year later, he was public with his diagnosis, which I always think is very, very cool when actors do that, because it turns something bad into something good where you can help save lives. And then he was pretty open about it. I think he was in The Masked Singer, and he still worked. He still did. Did you know there's a Legally Blonde prequel? That's good. I loved Legally Blonde. Apparently, he's in the prequel as Dean Wilson, a school district superintendent and mayoral candidate. So I'm excited to see that. But, seeing him pass, and he was only 48. Now it's just frightening. So, why the rise in colorectal cancer? Well, one is, I think it's because rather than eating single ingredient foods, we've been eating so many processed foods that unfortunately that sits and does a number to the lining of our intestines. It could also be we're a lot more constipated these days. Why? We're sitting more. We're Zooming. We're not as active. Now, he looked active. He looked active, and I don't know if he had, genetic predispositions, et cetera. But in general, we're seeing a lot of colorectal cancer cases rise in younger individuals. And I think a lot of it's because they're sitting playing video games. Now, in the 80s, I had to stand and play Ms. Pac-Man or Galaga or the pinball machines. But now people can just sit, and hours go by. Well, the body doesn't like sitting. And then if you're not actively drinking water and exercising and in an office setting where you're running over here and there and here and there, but you're just working from home, that could, I think, predispose to. Also, colorectal cancer could be caused by the HPV virus. And so we might be seeing more cases of cancer causing HPV strains that can unfortunately affect the rectum. And then I think a real big issue is we're not catching it early. I can't tell you how many times people call telemedicine with, I got some blood when I wipe, so give me hemorrhoid cream. Now, some doctors are doing that. They're like, okay, here's your hemorrhoid cream. Have a good day. Fill out the rating, fill out the survey. All the power to you. I'm like, no, whoa, 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 whoa. There's blood when you wipe? Has anybody examined? Do you see a hemorrhoid? Feel a hemorrhoid? Has anybody examined you? You have blood when you wipe, or blood in your stool. Your butt needs to get to a doctor right away. Now, I'm not saying anybody who wipes and sees blood has colon cancer or colorectal cancer, but one of the signs of colorectal cancer is bleeding. So we need to rule that out. Now, I understand. People say, but it's a hemorrhoid. I could see the hemorrhoid. I could feel the hemorrhoid. My wife could see the hemorrhoid. Dr. Dahlia, it's just a hemorrhoid. Give me hemorrhoid medication. And we give hemorrhoid medication over the phone in telemedicine. But then the next question is, well, why do you have hemorrhoid? Were you pregnant? Are you a truck driver? Have you been really constipated? That's it. That's it, Dr. Dahlia. I'm constipated, and that's why I got hemorrhoids. Okay? Okay? Why are you constipated? I mean, a hemorrhoid is a collapsed vein. Why are you pushing and straining to poop? What's obstructing the flow? Is it a mass? So when people say, we don't have to worry, it's just hemorrhoids, I'm good. I have hemorrhoids. I can't tell you how many times somebody with hemorrhoids didn't realize that it was colorectal cancer that caused the hemorrhoids. Now, I don't want everybody to panic. Hemorrhoids are very common. We used to call them piles. We used to just push them back. In the olden days, we have, suppositories and things like that. But my issue is you're hearing people are being found with their cancer at higher stages. What symptoms were you having prior? Some people have itching in the area. So they go, yeah, I have a fissure. I just need some hemorrhoid cream. Why are you itching? Why are the nerves, all woken up? What's going on down there? Just get it checked out. Now, I understand since Obamacare, colonoscopies have gotten more expensive. I've noticed this because my colonoscopy was pretty damn cheap before Obamacare. Now it's more expensive because insurance companies are like, well, we'll pay for the screening, but if you're not screening or there's something diagnostic, and listen, it's expensive. And it kind of is expensive because you have to have, you have to have anesthesia. You have to have, by the way, it doesn't hurt. You have to have the prep. You have to have nurses. You have to have a doctor who's doing the scope, etc. But for the love of God, if you're having any symptoms like constipation, bowel changes, weight loss, change in your stool shape or blood or itching or anything, get checked out. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY.
This is an urgent announcement for anyone that's $10,000 or more in debt. Before you make another minimum payment, you need to know there are special programs that can completely free you of your debt. Total Financial Freedom can help you become debt-free in months instead of years. Resolve your credit card debt, signature loans, department store cards, internet loans, and timeshares. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020 for a free consultation. For 16 years, Total Financial Freedom has helped thousands get out of debt. You can feel confident when calling because Total Financial Freedom is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Battling for years and years stuck in the endless cycle of minimum payments could take decades. You have the right to get your debt resolved and substantially reduce your monthly payments. Call Total Financial Freedom now at 800-878-6020. That's 800-878-6020. 800-878-6020.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media.
Welcome back to the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So Democrats are cheering as Tom Homan and the Trump administration is concluding Operation Metro Surge in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now, what exactly is going on? Well, President Donald Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, went in when things were getting really out of hand with protesters not peacefully assembling, but getting into the faces of ICE agents, constantly harassing them, then getting into scuffles, which sadly resulted in 2 individuals dead. One who was perceived as gunning her van up to while she was trying to flee, and get arrested. She leaves her wife in the dust and starts gunning her van. And then sadly, Renee Good ends up getting shot when her van is running towards an agent who thought that she was, going to run him down. Was she? Who knows? But unfortunately, she died. And then Alex Preddy, the ICU nurse, comes to a protest armed and gets into a scuffle. I don't know why the protesters have to get into the space where there's operations and agents, and a scuffle ensues and he gets shot. And so Minneapolis, as I've said, needs to be sued because your quote unquote peaceful protesters need to be out of the way, peacefully protesting in an area where there's no active operations or armed, agents who are trying to do work. And instead, the city just encouraged the chaos, and now 2 people are dead. So Minneapolis should be sued. Where were the barricades? If there's a fire, if there's an arrest, if there's a medical emergency, we keep bystanders away, and so that the officers and first responders could do the work they need to work unimpeded. And instead, it was, we don't want them, and blah, 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 blah. And so it got very out of hand. Tom Homan goes down there. He negotiates with city officials and says he's going to pare down the enforcements by about 700. And then now we're being told that even though there will be presence of ICE, surge operation is going to conclude. Now, surge means bringing more people in. So the surge operation concluding means they're not going to bring in more agents, but there will be agents. So he said there will be a significant drawdown underway. Will continue through next week. There has been improved cooperation with jails. And so a complete drawdown is the goal, but it is contingent upon the end of illegal and threatening activities against ICE. There will be a small footprint of personnel that's going to remain for a period of time. He will also remain on the ground to oversee the operation's drawdown and success, according to Fox News. So Holman also said, additionally, federal government personnel assigned to conduct criminal investigations into the agitators, as well as the personnel assigned here for the fraud investigations, will remain in place until the work is done. So they're not leaving completely. Now, the governor said that Holman assured him that federal agents will be leaving. He said, we will help you get to the airport. We will clear the roads to get you to the airport. I will come over and pack your damn bags if that's what it takes. That's what Governor Walz said. And what's really odd about this is the sanctuary cities that are holding illegal immigrants, but many of those with criminal backgrounds. This is what many people want. They want them removed, but these agitators, decided that they could cause so much mayhem and chaos that now many of the arrests involved the agitators. So, I mean, if I was ICE, and mind you, every other country, deports illegal immigrants, and immigrants with criminal activities that are not, did not, do their time, do the legal pathway. Every other country, Canada, Mexico, their deportation is even more strict than America's. ICE will not be defunded. I know a lot of progressives want that, but ICE is there for a reason. It's to protect the legal immigrants. The legal immigration pathway is solemn. We want us to continue as America to have a legal immigration pathway. That falls apart when you have an illegal pathway. So the illegal pathway has to be shut down so that people can go through the legal pathway. That's why we do it. There's a vetting. We make sure they don't have medical diseases that they could spread to others. Now we're seeing TB rise, tuberculosis cases rise. And so these are things that, they get vetted from a criminal standpoint. This is what we do during the legal immigration process. And so for anybody who is pro-immigrant, they're supposed to be pro the legal process. I'm the daughter of an immigrant. Thank God this country takes immigrants. But they had to do it legally. Learn the language, take the test, take the classes, become citizens. So, Holman is playing it smart. If the majority of the rest ICE is now doing are not the illegal immigrants, but individuals who are attacking them, interfering, etc., then they're going to have trouble showing the numbers. And nobody wants to see that American citizens who are not immigrants arrested more than the illegal immigrants with criminal backgrounds. So it's a numbers game. Now, are they going to still do work if there's, let's say they look deeper into the Somalia fraud schemes that and they find some people from Somalia not legally supposed to be there or with a criminal background. From what I understand, ICE will still do their work. They have to. That's their job. That's what people are paying taxes for. They don't want, their money defrauded by individuals who aren't here legally. They don't want the money defrauded at all. But, if they end up finding that, but that investigation is going to still go on. And so what my guess is there's a lot of work that has to be done in Minnesota. And it's a distraction with what's going on with the protesters. Now, I know everybody's like, oh, no, the protesters win. So now what that means is they can attack law enforcement at any time and they'll leave. Not entirely. What I think they'll do is they're playing it smart. Let the protesters hopefully go back to their jobs. Eventually the money runs out, whoever's hiring them. And then they might not necessarily have to surge the ICE agents, but they might have to do undercover operations or other things. Now, somebody could say Minnesota and Minneapolis was very, very successful. They boycotted and bullied and, threatened car rental companies and hotels and restaurants. And they went after, the organization of that just, you could tell that it was, these are people that have been planning it. We're even hearing that Renee Good's kid went to a social activism school. This is a religion for some. And so, if ICE agents have to do their work, they might not be able to be public. They might have to do undercover operations. And I'm wondering if that's where they're going to go. And when you have two people now that they should have never been there, they should have never done what they did, but sadly they're dead. All right, they're going to have to, ICE is going to have to pivot. Like I said, the city was supposed to do something and the city should be sued. And they better pay, the victims' families because they should have never allowed protesters and bystanders to get in the face of ICE and start egging on and fighting with them. That should have never happened. And then running the should have, the city should have moved but they didn't. And, the idea of, well, let Minneapolis be a sanctuary city, let the illegal, immigrants or those with criminal backgrounds that aren't here legally, go there and whatever. Unfortunately, that's not the answer. And I don't think that's what ICE is going to do. And that's not what I think the Trump administration is going to do. They have midterms. They understand that, the average person knows and sees who's getting deported. And they're seeing, these were people who were pedophiles and sex offenders and rapists and murderers. And a lot of people ICE found and got out of our country, and we commend them for that. But if all the news is about all the arrests and that ICE arrested more Americans than illegal immigrants with criminal backgrounds, they got to change that optic. And how else do you get the protesters to stop? Well, you stop the funding of it, and I think George Soros has an unlimited amount of money if he's the one supplying it, funding it, or you just give them nothing to protest publicly, and then do operations covertly. I don't know. 1-877 Dolly, don't go away. Dr. Dahlia here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com.
Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
Back on the Dr. Dahlia Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. So the shooter has been identified, the one who killed multiple students in a Canadian school, has been identified as a transgender ex-student, Jesse Van Rootselaar. This attack was one of the deadliest shootings in Canada's history, second to the shooting that I believe happened in 2020. I'm not sure how they identified, they're just calling them a ex-student, so I'm not sure if they identified as male or female. At the time of the shooting, somebody said that the student was wearing a dress at the time, so they might have been identified as a she. So I'll just say the student, but apparently the student was a prior student of the Tumbler Ridge School, the Tumbler Ridge Secondary School. It's a small academy that serves grades 7 through 12, has a student body of 160. Van Rootselaar shoots himself dead at the school afterwards, or herself. And Van Rootselaar was identified yesterday as the shooter by Royal Canadian Mounted Police Deputy Commissioner Dwayne McDonald, and said he was born a biological male, who approximately 6 years began to transition to female and is identified as a female. And a reporter asked whether the officer believes there was any correlation between Van Rootselaar identifying as transgender and the shooting, and McDonald said it's too early to say. Now, you see, I know there's some people that criticize that, going, oh, why are people bringing that up? Why are they bringing that up? Well, because the motive, it's not that people are trying to be anti-transgender. It's that, why that school? Is it because while this person was transitioning, the school had bullies? Did they try to stop? Were they the ones that encouraged? Was there any correlation or link to that? And I think that is a valid question. Just like, let's say you had a student who was diabetic. Somebody with diabetes shot up a school. I'm going to ask, was their blood sugar low? Was there continuous blood glucose monitor on? Did they have low blood sugar at the time? Did they have high blood sugar? I would ask that. I mean, because again, we want to prevent the next shooting. We want to try to identify what could be inciting factors. And so, was his transitioning Encouraged what is transitioning, shunned and criticized. Was he bullied? Why that school? Why kill kids? He doesn't know. And I think a teacher was shot. So, yeah, people want to know. Photos of, according to the New York Post, photos of von Rutzler in a birthday message posted by his grandmother for his 14th birthday approximately 2 years ago showed transition. He appeared to be a normal teenage boy, but then you saw, I guess he was holding fish and things like that. And then I believe he, decided that he wanted to be female. We're being told that on more than one occasion he was taken into custody for assessment under the Mental Health Act. 2 years ago, firearms were seized from the home, but the lawful owner got them back after petitioning to have them returned. 2 firearms were recovered at the school, including a long gun and a modified handgun. It was not clear if these were the weapons that were previously confiscated and then returned. They would have to check the serial numbers, of course. And so when he was described as a female in a dress, it was suggested that somebody was trying to describe a shooter in a dress, and then they changed it to female in a dress because she identifies now identified as a female. Then the police superintendent described it as a gun person. 6 people were found dead inside the school, and the bodies of his mother, 39 years old, and stepbrother were discovered at a local residence. So apparently the shooter killed his family before he went to the school. Unsure if the family tried to stop him. Not unsure. In an Instagram post of July 2024, the shooter posted a picture of a trans-inclusive pride flag with "Good people don't spend their time harassing marginalized communities." And interestingly, she described herself as a conservative-leaning libertarian. Now, again, this is Canadian. So I'm not exactly sure what, inspired and how the school was involved. But unfortunately, when some people want to do mass murders, they go back to where they spent a lot of time. According to the shooter, she said, "I really hope the hate I see online is just bored old people and not true hatred. Do better and educate yourself before spewing blank online. Do you have any idea how many kids are killing themselves over this kind of hate?" Now, the victims inside the school include 1 female teacher, 3 12-year-old female students, and 2 male students aged 12 and 13. The identities still have not been revealed. There's 1 student fighting for her life after being, from what we understand, either shot or shrapnel in her head and neck. Now, most of the students who were killed were found in the library, 1 in a stairwell. Van Rutzler was a former student who dropped out 4 years ago. Not sure how they were able to gain access to the school. 25 others wounded in the shooting. Most life-threatening, but there were 2 that did have to be life-flighted. So the question keeps coming up, what about, when we're hearing, transgender individuals, shooting, it's rare when you really look at the numbers of who did mass shootings, but you're starting to see, in the last few shootings that these are individuals that are, maybe transitioning or of the transgender spectrum. And I think we're going to see more because you have many individuals now who are struggling, unhappy, and it's being brought up to them that, well, maybe it's your gender. And so I don't think it's the transgenderism that is causing, somebody to shoot. I think it's not everybody who's transgender has mental illness. You have a very, very small subset of people who really feel like they're in the wrong body, and that's got to be very, very troubling. But I think you have a lot of individuals who go, well, I'm unhappy. Well, it's like, well, that's because you're a girl. You could be a boy. You're unhappy because you're stuck in what society is making you, or vice versa. So you have a lot of individuals go, well, wait a second, that's got to be it. It's because I have to be a girl or I have to be a boy, and I don't want to be. So I'm going to change. For some people, it helps them. But I think for the majority of people, especially kids, it doesn't solve what they're unhappy about. If somebody's that unhappy, and then it's brought up, well, maybe it's because you have a penis or you have a vagina and you're not supposed to. You're supposed to have a different body, so let's change that. If you're not identifying the root cause of why they're upset and why they're struggling, the transgender transitioning is not going to help. So you hear people saying, well, if we need to profile and we need to prevent the next shooter, let's look at that population. No, I don't think, like I said, I don't think it's the transgenderism. What I think we do have to do is if somebody was struggling and they got the idea that maybe it's because they're the wrong gender, you really need to go back and get to the root of why they're struggling. Because my worry is the gender transitioning might be their last chance that they're looking at. This is my last shot. And if it doesn't work, and the majority of time is it doesn't, and it's painful, and it's frustrating to try to be on the hormones and do all the work, they might say, well, then, you know what? I tried it. That didn't work. Now I don't know if I could ever go back. I'm done. And I think we're going to see more suicides, and we're going to see more people acting out. You have got to get to the root of why somebody feels their gender is the root of their issues. Like I said, you have a very, very small group of individuals who have true gender dysphoria, where they wake up and they go, I'm in the wrong body. But for the other individuals who are being told by counselors, maybe that's what it is. You know, you've always had to live a life in this body. What if you had a different body? And I don't think that always solves the problem. 1-877 Doc Dolly. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Welcome back to the Dr. Dahlia Show. 1-877 Doc Dolly, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So the Olympics are still going on in Milano Cortina. I catch as much as I can. Usually the time of day when I'm watching it, it's usually ice skating. And I don't mind the ice skating. I really like watching skiing and things like that. But the ice skating, the figure skating, I mean, pretty impressive. Right now, the medal count, I believe Norway has more gold medals and total medals than any other country. 7 gold, 14 total. Italy comes out with 6 gold, 15 total. USA is coming in third with 4 gold and 13 total. I think our hockey team has kicked butt. Our skating athletes have kicked butt. Our skiing, I think we're there's going to be a lot more events where I think we're going to probably outpace everybody else in terms of medals. Unfortunately, we've had some injuries. Lindsey Vonn, for example, from what I understand, she's going to be undergoing a third surgery. She said that she sustained a complex tibia fracture that is currently stable, but is requiring multiple surgeries to fix. Sometimes before we can put in the internal fixator, we need like an external fixator. Sometimes you'll see hardware outside of the leg and it looks pretty painful, but it isn't. We make sure there's pain control and we're stabilizing the bones so that we could hopefully, as they start healing, they're aligned in the right position, and then they could go in and then add other stabilizers and fixation tools later on, plates and bracings and other things. From what I understand, she's going to be off that leg for at least 6 to 8 weeks minimum. It doesn't mean her Olympic dreams are over, but this injury, unfortunately, with all the ACL tears she had, the knee when she fell, and I believe her arm might have hit the flag. Unfortunately, with that fall that she had the other day, the leg just started to crumble, and that's it's just sad that happened. I would also ensure that she's getting her bone density checked out. I understand that she's in her 40s, but unfortunately, if she sustained, even though that fall was a bad one, want to make sure that she's not going to sustain other broken bones if her bones are thinning. And so she's doing well. She's posted pictures of her in the hospital bed, but she's undergoing more surgery. In the meantime, an Australian snowboarder had to be airlifted to the hospital yesterday after breaking his neck. Apparently, Australian snowboarder Cameron Bolton fractured his neck in 2 places. He's 35 years old. He was in training for the snowboard cross event. Initially walked away from the crash, woke up with severe pain in the neck the next day, and actually had 2 fractures. It's scary because if you walk around with a fractured neck and you sever the spinal cord, you could have permanent paralysis. So, very, very grateful that he, recognized that he had an issue and they would not let him walk. They airlifted him out. So from what I understand, he's also undergoing treatment now. The Italian doctors have been pretty busy, but according to the Olympic Committee, they said Cam is in stable condition, remains in good spirits. The Australian Olympic medical team is working with local doctors and neurospecialists in Australia. Oh, I guess he's back in Australia now to determine next steps, further assessment, and treatment. He has been replaced by James Johnstone, who's going to make his Olympic debut alongside Adam Lambert and Jared Hughes, not the singer Adam Lambert, I don't believe. So I've been asked, how do I feel about Eileen Gu? I haven't really been following her. She's American. Her mom is from China. And Eileen Gu has been representing Team China. And so she was born in San Francisco, is, I believe, the highest paid Winter Olympic athlete in the world. She has, I believe, an estimated $23 million based on partnerships with Chinese companies, including the Bank of China and some other Western companies. And Gu has chosen to represent China for her mother, who was born there. Now, this has drawn a lot of criticism. People have been criticizing NBC for their coverage of her, going, we got American athletes. She was born in America, but she's representing China, so why aren't you covering the American athletes to the degree you're covering her? Or people have been frustrated that, she's getting all these accolades and she's, enjoying being American, but, she's representing China. Why isn't she speaking out about China's, human rights issues and other things, repression against Uyghurs and other. And so I'm not involved. I don't really follow that. I don't know much about her. But she told reporters that, I'm sorry that the headline that is eclipsing the Olympics has to be something so unrelated to the spirit of the games. She says it really runs contrary to everything the Olympics should be. She said the whole point of the sport is to bring people together. One of the very few common languages, that of the human body, that of the human spirit, the competitive spirit, the capacity to break not only records, but especially in our sport, literally the human limit. How wonderful is that? So here's the thing. I'm mixed on it because on one end, she wants to represent, a country that, comes from her roots. I don't have a problem with that. But the Olympics has, I think, taken just a different turn. You see, I always thought that how the Olympics was supposed to be is who from your country is the best of the best, competing with the best of the other people from that country. And it allows the countries to compete against each other. You know, I mean, does America, have good Olympics, good gymnasts? You know, what does America cultivate? What does America, we have some fantastic gymnasts. We have some fantastic swimmers. You'll see in Sweden and Switzerland and Norway and that they will have some fantastic Winter Olympic athletes. And so I understand we're mixed and you have many individuals that have, multiple ethnicities, and I get that. But I always thought that America was going to put up Americans. China was going to put up people from China. And so your competition, if let's say China wants to win in, let's say, let me come up with an example of something where, let's look at like Cool Runnings. All right, a Jamaican bobsled team. What if Jamaica said, okay, you know what we're going to do? We are going to transplant other athletes. Say, make them Jamaican, give them citizenship, call them Jamaican, and now these Norwegians or Scandinavians are going to help win us a bobsled medal for Jamaica. That would be, no. If you're going to have a Jamaican bobsled team, they got to be from Jamaica. I mean, that's kind of that's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to be transplanting. And so I understand why some people get a little bit rubbed wrong because they're like, wait a second, she was born in America and she's benefiting from being, even though, we would look at her as Chinese American, are American athletes from America or Chinese athletes from China? Is she really the best that China has to offer? When China's not offering her, America is. It just kind of skews the games a little bit. I mean, I wish her well, but I'm starting to look at the Olympics as not as we're doing it for the country, but we're doing it for our own, careers and pocketbooks. And that starts to change. You want to represent that's what the Olympians used to say. Maybe they lied, but they were like, I want to represent my country. I'm doing it for America. I love America. It's the best country in the world. I'm here to represent America. And it's I don't know if, I'm wearing the flag, but I don't necessarily agree with what America's. Now everybody's trying to cover their butts. Look, if you want to represent America, would love to have you on Team USA. But if you don't love America and you don't want to represent America, then that's, the Olympians are supposed to be the best of the best. And so it is a little unsettling that if China is winning, but by using Americans to win. 1-877 Dolly, don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.